Good morning once again. My name is Erik Ness, and it is such an honor and such a blessing to be on this stage. Sometimes I get an opportunity to lead worship, and I love doing that. Those songs, there's such powerful messages in those songs and those prayers that we're able to sing to God. And then sometimes I get honored and blessed to be able to speak on stage and try not to be too distracting or crazy. But so, of course, when they asked me if I wanted to preach, I said, yeah, that would be great. And they said, okay, we're doing the writers series. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this the one where, you're talking about different writers in the New Testament? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. Please give me Paul. Paul is awesome. I'm a lot like him. I've never really tried to kill Christians or anything, but I have, done things that I regretted, and I've become a new person through Christ. Amen? And so I was talking about that. And then they're like, no, not Paul. And I was like, okay, well, how about Mark? Being a crazy, interactive guy and all that, I make good friends, and then I do let them down sometimes, just like Mark. So I can be like Mark, and they're like, no, actually, just to be funny, we thought we'd have Mark talk about Mark. It's like, oh, dang it. And they're like, you should do the whole, he should do the whole, change his name thing, because he's Mark with a C and instead of Mark with a K, and you could say something like Kark or something like that, right? And that'd be really funny, which actually happened last week. Kark. What a great name. I'm going to try to name my kid. Casey, can I name our future kid that someday? No? Okay, cool. That was not like an announcement or anything, just to be clear. That was just something that I just thought about. I just want to make sure I clarify that. They're like, no, we're going to give you Luke. And I was like, Luke? Okay, I don't really know much about Luke. And they said, don't worry, no one knows anything about Luke. I was like, awesome. They're like, yeah, he's actually only mentioned 3 times in the entire Bible. And you're like, cool. So they really set me up for success here. So then I was like, okay, fine, I'll do some research. I'll start looking into Luke. And so this is what I found out about him. Colossians 4:14. Our dear friend Luke, the doctor, and Demas send greetings. So our friend Luke, that guy, he's a doctor. You know doctors, kind of detail-oriented, specific, facts-driven, right? Anybody like that kind of facts, details? That's fine. Anyone like that? Awesome. Hello, my name's Erik Ness. I'm the exact opposite of you. I'm not what you would call detail-oriented in any way, shape, or form. Those people that just raised their hand probably thrived in school. I survived in school. I was those kids that it went one of two ways. It was either that kid that the teacher was looking at you and you're like, you're not getting anything out of this, are you? And you're like, nope. And you're just dancing, and I would tip in my chair and all that. And then you do the almost fall thing. Any chair tippers in the room, you do the almost fall thing. You're like, huh! And it scares you because you feel like you're falling off a cliff. Yeah, I was that kid. So much so that in middle school, my teacher taped a square box on the floor, and I had to stand in it like this for the entire class period, which to a kid with ADHD seems like an entire 4 years of high school and 3 years of middle school, and then you include college. That's what it felt like right there. So I was either that kid, or if I was having what appeared to be a good day, I was the kid that the teacher would make eye contact with, and I'd be nodding my head, and they're like, oh, I got him. He's locked in. I got this figured out. But what was really happening in my head was I was going, lunch is next. I do like lunch. What if they have chicken sandwiches today? Should I get 2 chicken sandwiches? Yeah, I'll get 2 chicken sandwiches because I don't want an apple. No, I don't like apples. Unless there's oranges, I do like oranges. Oh my gosh, a squirrel! That was me to the T in high school, middle school, etc., etc. So we have Luke, the doctor, and me. And so I did a little bit more digging, and I wanted to kind of figure out who this Luke guy was, and I finally made the connection. And so he wrote the book of Luke and Acts, and so it's actually really cool. If you put them together, it seems like one just continuous story, and it's a really fun read just to have that continual letter, that continual story. And so in the beginning of Luke, he was writing and explaining how he got the information that he got. And this is what it says in Luke chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who were from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, which, by the way, see this Theophilus guy here? No one knows anything about him either. I did so much research, and they're like, I heard he's great. I heard he's excellent. That's all I've heard from him, but that's besides the point. That was just my whole little side tangent there. Orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. You see, Luke wasn't there for the events of Jesus. He wasn't there for the time that Jesus was born, the time Jesus died, the time he rose again. In his ministry, he wasn't there. And so he looked and found those people that were there. And so I found the connection between myself and Luke and maybe a bunch of you guys in this room is he was an investigator. He carefully investigated. He researched. He searched after. And so I want to explain how I feel like all of us are researchers or investigators in some way, but I thought I'd bring a small, just a little illustration because I'm a big hands-on kind of guy. So give me 1 second though, I just got to bring my little tiny illustration out here real quick. Crank it up. Yeah, I asked. They barely let me get it on stage. I mean, you should have seen us getting this thing on stage. But hey, this is my 1983 Honda CX650 Custom. Now, some of you guys are like, who cares what you just said? It's a motorcycle. But for me, it's important. It's significant. And I'll get to that in just a little bit. But I want to start with talking about how I got this motorcycle. So my cousin John, who's a missionary in England, still to this day, awesome. He was 19 or 20 years old and went to be a missionary in England, and he's still there to this day. And so he was there, and he was getting ready to leave, and he said, hey, I got a motorcycle. Would you like it? So naturally, without a thought in my mind, I went, let me ask my wife. So I did the thing. You know the thing. Husbands know the thing. When you want something really badly and you're excited to get something, you know, that you can purchase or you can buy or you can get for free, and you do that face. You know that face that like you're trying to act cute and you're trying to like win them over before you even ask the question. So I did this thing. He's like, would you like a motorcycle? And I said, Casey, right? We all do that. That you're like, you hear something, you're like, you know? And so I did that. And so she said yes because she's amazing. And I got so excited. I almost forgot. Actually, I almost forgot the one condition she had for me to get a motorcycle, which I totally agree with. Helmet. Every motorcycle needs a helmet. Every motorcyclist needs a helmet. The motorcycle doesn't. It's like, now it's safe. No, it's So I got a helmet. So that's the first thing that was really important. And then the second thing was really important with this motorcycle. It's your representing manual. Make sure you have your bumper sticker. You can get the Emmanuel sticker right out the doors at our Next Step Center. We would love to get you some for your car. Represent Christ well. Okay. So my motorcycle. But here's the story about this motorcycle is my cousin said yes, and so I said, or a cousin said I can have the motorcycle. So I said, awesome. They said, well, we need some type of money transfer so we can transfer the title and kind of explain how much you bought the motorcycle for. I was like, I get it. I was thinking $200, $300. He's like, how about $1? I said, let me ask my wife. No, that one, I did the wrong thing. I didn't ask my wife about, but she forgave me. And so I was like, sweet, $1 for a motorcycle. Awesome. So I get there, I pull a trailer, I get all ready, I pull my wallet out, and I'm like, dang it. I only have a 5. You got change? And he's like, nope. And so he charged me 5 times more than what he was actually going to charge me for the motorcycle. I'm not good at negotiation, but that's okay. That's all right. And so this is my $5 motorcycle. This is actually a picture of me when I first got it. I put it on a trailer. You see how I'm like looking intensely? Like I'm doing the whole like over your glasses, sophisticated look thing? Yeah. I knew nothing about motorcycles when I bought this motorcycle. I didn't know how to drive it. I didn't know what the levers did. I was like, you use your feet or no? I knew nothing about this motorcycle. I didn't know how to start it. I didn't know anything about motorcycles. I decided to buy a motorcycle. Oh, I also decided to buy a motorcycle that didn't work. I knew nothing about motorcycles. I didn't know how to drive them, let alone take them apart. But through careful investigation, through careful research, found the repair manual online. I went to Google forums, looked all sorts of stuff, asked people around me. I found some really cool people that know motorcycles, and I can talk to them about the motorcycle. And we got to work. And so this is my friend Brad and I. We took the engine off the motorcycle. This day, you could have never told me in a million years that this day would be happening. But we took the engine off, and so I took it apart, rebuilt the whole thing, put it back together. Didn't work. So I tried to do it a second time, took the engine off, took it apart, put it back together, went to start it up, didn't work. Nice. Obviously, my research is going very well at this point. I'm killing it. And so then we got it a third time, and finally it started right up. And this was the day that I got to ride the motorcycle for the very first time. Look at the smile on my face. That was before I got a cool helmet. This was like I don't know what that is, but that's okay. So I have this was the day that I researched and I searched for and I was hoping for, and that's the day that I started up my motorcycle. It was an awesome day. So my question to you is, what do you investigate? What do you research? What do you search for? You know, for some of us, it might be cooking recipes. For you, my friend, who just got that smoker, you might be on your phone right now looking at what meat you can smoke and how long it takes. And it takes a long time, so, be prepared for that. Maybe you're searching for restaurants. And, I'm not this way, but some people get the restaurant menu before they go to the restaurant, and then they decide, based on the menu, if they're going to go to that restaurant. I more walk in and go, you got a cheeseburger? Yep, sweet. But different people. Maybe you're the person that want to research a good book. What's the next book that I'm going to read? What's the next thing I'm going to try to read? Another thing, not quite my style, but that's all right. Or maybe you're the person that's vacationing, and you're like, I got to find the best vacation spot, the best bang for my buck, all of that kind of stuff. So I get it. We're researching. Or maybe you're that high school student who's getting ready to graduate high school next year or the year after that, and you're thinking to yourself, what is next? Is it college? Is it not college? If it is college, where do I go? If it's not college, where do I go? Looking into those research times. If you're dating somebody, you're researching also. You're searching for, investigating if this is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. If you have kids or you're pregnant, you're doing a lot of research. Especially, my sister just had a baby, my niece Braylon, who is, in my opinion, the cutest baby ever made. But I know, I'm biased. So they did so much research. I knew exactly how long she was, an acorn and plum or something. I don't know what it was. All sorts of stuff, right? Because they did so much research. Maybe that's where you're at in your life right now. Or you're at the part where you're like, I don't know how to raise my middle schooler. Help me, right? Like maybe you're doing that. I don't know. By the way, I don't know how to raise middle schoolers. I just know how to hype them up with candy. So you don't have to ask me how to raise middle schoolers. So maybe you're at that point in life. Or maybe you're getting ready to retire and you're thinking, what's next? What's next? And you're researching, you're trying to find the biggest RV you can find so you can go all the way to Florida and get out of these terrible winters. Maybe that's where you're at now. I don't know where you guys are at in your life, but we're all investigating, we're all searching for something every single day. And so that's where Luke was. Luke was an investigator. And so he did this research. He searched and he found eyewitnesses and he sat down with them and asked them about who Jesus was and how he affected their life. Think about this for a second. I think this is so cool. Luke most likely sat down with Mary and said, tell me about your son. That's cool. He got the chance to sit down and tell her, and for her to tell him about her son. I think that's so amazing. And so what's funny is, at some point she told him, or I'm assuming she told him based on this next passage we're going to look at, that she was like, well, do you want to hear about the time I almost lost the Savior of the world? What? Yeah, she's like, yeah, I couldn't find him. Totally admit, Joseph and I were going home and we just couldn't find him. That really happened. And so let's look at that part in just right here. When they did not find him, Mary and Joseph, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him after 3 days. 3 days. Now, I'm not a parent, but but I'm in charge of students sometimes, and if I lose one student for 15 minutes, I start freaking out, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm losing my job, their parents are gonna kill me, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't imagine how much hyped up that is when you're a parent missing a kid for 15 minutes. Now imagine 3 days. Mary had to have been like, God, I'm so sorry. I know you trusted me with your son, and I lost him. I'm still looking, but you know where he is. You know everything, right? That's the kind of stuff that probably went through Mary's head, like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And so I love it. This is what it says as we continue. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts. Sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. He was sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Guys, 12 years old Jesus, what was he doing? He was investigating God. That is so cool. Especially because I get a chance to work with middle schoolers, so I kind of did a bunch of research and learning where they're at developmentally, all that kind of stuff. Do you know the main question middle schoolers want to know when they're in middle school? Who am I? Who am I? And that's why we call our middle school ministry identity, because we're showing them that their identity is in Christ. That's whose you are, which informs who you are. Jesus was understanding this at the age of 12, asking them, listening to them. Jesus was investigating. And I think that is so huge for us to understand, because Jesus understood that. He understands what it's like to investigate. And so as it continue in verse 29, it says this, why were you searching for me, he asked, which I think is so funny. Like, Mom, why are you searching for me? Because I lost you? Like, what a funny question that is. But why are you searching for me? That's so middle schooler. He asked, didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house? But they did not understand what he was saying to them. Okay, I can understand why Joseph was confused, because he was like, hello, as your father, I was trying to bring you home and you left the group. But no, it's important that my Father's house is so significant and so important, because at 12 years old, at least by the age of 12 years old, Jesus understood whose he was. Jesus understood that he was a child of God, that he was God's son. And what that does is, as soon as Jesus realized that God is invested in him. Invested in him. And then it continues in verse 52, and it says, Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. You see, Jesus didn't stop investigating in middle school. He kept searching. He kept looking for. He kept asking. He kept doing these things where he was running after God, because he knew that God was invested in him. So he started researching, looking, running towards him. And that's his challenge to us today as well. To investigate the one who is invested in you. Investigate the one who is invested in you. Search, research, find, run after God. What's cool is, as Luke moves on to somebody else and hears the story of how Jesus impacted their life, he finds a person that starts talking about when Jesus was teaching this concept to a group of people. And so this is the part where he's meeting with people, and they ask, like, why do you pray? Or how do you pray? And in those moments of how do you pray, that's when Jesus answers a common, well-known prayer, our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That part, that's how do you pray. Pray like this. And then he gets to a bottom half that's more, why do you pray? And that's where we're going to pick it up in Luke chapter 11, starting in verse 9. So I say to you, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Did you guys notice those investigative words in that passage? The researching, the running after words, those commands. Ask, seek, knock, ask, seek, knock. It's this idea of continually investigating, researching, running after God. And I think That's where Jesus was getting at in this moment where he says, why do you pray? Well, you pray to hear God's voice. You pray to know his will for your life. You pray for him to hear your hurts when you're hurting. You pray for him to invest or to be there for you because he is invested in you, so you investigate him. Investigate the one who is invested in you. I am learning this so much as I go through right now where I'm at in my life and things that are happening all around me, which I want to get into in just a little bit. But I want to talk through those 3 action words. That first one is ask. Ask is simply pray. And this is another one that my wife gets me on quite a bit. Like I said, we're going through a lot in our life right now, and I'm trying to think through things with relationships and friendships and all sorts of stuff. And so I'm like wrestling with all these things. I'm like trying to figure these all out on my own. I'm not talking to people. I don't want to burden people. I'm just like thinking to myself. And finally I break down and I start talking to my wife. I'm like, I just can't figure this out. And she asks me one simple question that some of you guys have probably heard. Anyone know what that question is? Did you pray about it? Oh! Because how do you respond to that? Because you're already like, you're like, I just can't figure this out. Did you pray about it? No! How do you respond to that? But she gets me so much in that, and I love that about her. I love that she reminds me to talk to God. Guys, God wants us to talk to him. God wants us to ask him things. So have you been praying about it? Some of you guys are going through some crazy stuff right now. And I want to challenge you this week as you're going through things to just take time and pray to God. And so I've been doing something lately that I'm trying to kind of do because it's just a great time and moment to pray. What I do is when I'm driving, I oftentimes listen to my favorite song. Some people listen to podcasts, but I don't want to fall asleep while I'm driving. All the podcast people get really upset at that one. I understand. Podcasts are great, but not for everyone, right? So usually I blast music or do something like that. What I started doing was I turned my music off and I sit in silence in my car. And I just drive. And I talk to God. I ask him about things that are going on in my life. I ask him to move in ways. I ask him to open doors. It's just while I'm driving. What a great opportunity to talk to God. Because most of the time you're not going to be like, God, and I just thank you for how good you are. Move over, right? Like that's not going to happen. So like instead of getting mad at people while you're driving, maybe take that time and talk to God. Investigate the one who is invested in you. Take time and do that. The next one is seek. And this one is one that kind of has been convicting me lately because of my motorcycle. So when you do an illustration, like a motorcycle or any illustration, you start to like illustrate it to death and start thinking, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I'd done something wrong. And so in this moment, I looked at this motorcycle and I realized I spent hours and hours and hours looking at the repair manual for this motorcycle, trying to find solutions to problems this motorcycle had. What if I spent that time, or even a portion of that time, reading my Bible, trying to find the solutions that are the problems in my heart? What if I spent that time investigating God and running after him and start reading that? The other one that got me as I was thinking through this was, there are so many times like that picture, my friend Brad helped me take the engine off. I've had multiple friends help me take this engine off because I've done it wrong multiple times. But I needed help with it because I literally couldn't lift the engine or can't maneuver it on my own. I need someone to help. But yet with bigger things in my life like depression and anxiety, I don't ask for any help at all. That doesn't make any sense. I'm there with you. Like I said, I'm the same exact way. Guys, invite people in to talk to you, to help you go through those different things. Because truthfully, we're going through a lot right now. We're going through a lot right now. Some of you guys might have just lost your job and you're trying to figure out where I'm going to get my next paycheck. Some of you guys have dealt with a recent diagnosis that you don't know what the next step is, or you don't know what it looks like. And so you're stuck. Some of you guys are in this room, and you're like, we're all celebrating Father's Day, and you're like, man, I just wish I could be a dad. Some of you guys in this room are going through deaths in your family, loss of loved ones, and you're just totally confused, and you don't know where to go, and your heart just hurts when you get home at night, and you're by yourself. Some of you guys have been dealing with addictions that you've been trying to get through, you've been trying to work through for over a decade, and you just can't figure it out. And it just hurts that you can't get over, that you can't work through this. It just hurts. We all have those hurts. We all have those things that we're struggling with. We all have those things that we're doing. What if we started seeking after God? What if we started investigating the one who is invested in us in those moments in our life? I know God will show up. I know it. Because I've seen it. I've seen it. And so the last thing is knock. And this one I like because it's just this whole like continual knocking, moving forward, keep going, keep asking. And the greatest part about this is there was no stipulation. It wasn't like, okay, if you have everything figured out, if you know everything, then you can ask, you can seek, and you can knock. Maybe some of you in this room are you just came to church because someone invited you, or you just stopped by because you don't really know what's going on in your life, and you just want to try to figure it out, but you don't really know about this whole Jesus guy. I encourage you to investigate, to research, to look into it, to ask the people around you. Some of you guys are going through the darkest, deepest moments of your life right now, and you just are so confused, and you don't even understand why God's doing this to you, and so you're starting to doubt, does God even exist, or does God even care about me? I want you to lean into that. Research, investigate. Now, when I'm talking about research, I'm not talking about like you need to Google it. I'm talking read the Bible. Talk to God about it. Look at those around you. Ask the people around you. Don't do this life alone. We are not meant to live life alone. Or maybe you're in this room and you're just stuck in this routine, right? I mean, you come to church because that's what you do. You serve first service, then you come to second service, or whatever it is. You're in this routine. And you read your Bible in the mornings because that's what you're supposed to do. And then meals come out, and you're like, oh, I guess we should probably pray. Lord, thank you for this food and this day. Amen. And maybe you're in this routine of this is what we do. Guys, I've been in that routine so many times in my life. You know what's really unfortunate about that routine? You're not in awe of God anymore. God's just the thing that we work on, the thing we do. Guys, we should be running after God. What would it look like if we ran after God like it was the first time we've ever met him? What would our lives look like then? If we started seeking after him, if we started asking him to be present in our lives more than we've ever imagined, if we continue to do that, we kept knocking, we kept going forward, imagine what it would look like. So my question to you today is, what are you investigating, or what do you investigate? You know, in all honesty, right now, my family's going through a lot of change, just different things. And so while we're going through change and we're going through these significant things, I'm at this point of uncertainty, unknown, traveling things I've never really known about. Maybe that's some of you guys too. Maybe you guys are in moments of uncertainty, unease. We're going to sing one more song, and I'd love for us to sing it together as a prayer. And it has some amazing, amazing words, and I'm going to grab them right over here because I don't want to mess them up. So this song speaks so much into what this is, what we're asking, what I'm asking myself to do, and I'm asking you guys to do, and what I believe God is asking us to do, investigating him. And especially in those times of unknowns. And the verses talk about some of those unknown times. And this is what it says. Speak to me when the silence steals my voice. You understand me. And come to me in the valleys of unknowns. You understand me. Some of you guys are sitting in those valleys of unknowns right now. You're going through things you've never experienced before, or you have experienced and you're worried about it because you have experienced it before. You know the hurt. You know the pain. I want to encourage you guys to shout this verse out as loud as you can, or this bridge. There's a bridge that I've literally been in my car just shouting out with no music because I'm praying. This is what it says. I will rest in the Father's hands. I'll leave the rest in the Father's hands. As you guys are searching after God, as you guys are running after God, I just want you guys to shout this out, to sing this out as your prayer to him. Because whether you're a new believer, an old believer, or you don't really know what's going on right now, and you aren't really all for this whole Christianity thing, God's invested in you, and he wants you to investigate in him. Investigate the one who is invested in you, and I guarantee you'll learn he's a lot bigger than you thought.